Started. All right. Good morning, everybody that showed up. Tried my best to get the word out further. I did send a distro out, but we're still working on trying to get it out to the entire school. So Eric should be sending out an email with, I think, several pages from the JSSC stuff that you guys have talked about, Nancy, and some of his other thoughts. He said it's going to be several pages, but there is mention of this meeting. I think he says he's going to support. And I think we are going to move it to Fridays once school starts. That way all parents should be home and we should be able to keep this going and, at least the first couple of weeks discuss what their concerns and thoughts are in the first couple of weeks of school and see what we can do to help people out. So I'd like to kind of open it up for discussion. Probably the first topic is following up from the new alternating schedule. I know that there were a lot of parents, I don't know if anybody in here, that kind of protested and stormed the district meeting to discuss this with the school board, which is their constitutional right. I thought was great. I think it's great that parents and kids are getting involved. I think it's wonderful. I have no opinion one way or another really on how we do this. I'm just glad kids are in school at all. So I think we're moving forward. But just some discussion out there as some concerns we have about this moving forward. If anybody has any questions or comments you want to bring up. Is anybody in the room? Not so much. All right, I know there's a lot going on. So Nancy, you want to talk about any updates from the JSSC?
Well, the letter went out, and one of the things that we decided to make sure that we put in the letter, it was in an email from Mr. Holmes, were things that would not change no matter what the schedule was. So I think that maybe some of that answered people's questions.
Has it gone out? Because I haven't seen it yet.
Yes, he sent out that email. Did it not come to parents?
I haven't seen one yet. I don't know about other parents in here.
I saw mine, or it came to me. I saw it in my email. So
I'll check my junk box. I don't know where Eric's stuff goes.
Yeah, it went out.
It gave me a lot of peace, honestly. When I read that, it made me feel really excited about the upcoming year. So I think that there was a lot that I didn't realize was going to stay maybe kind of normal. So I felt good about it.
Well, I'm glad. It was shorter than the original one that I had drawn up, but so I'm glad that you felt it. So hopefully, I don't know that we need to send it out again. I'm hoping that everyone actually got the email.
I'm checking. I don't have it, but I can ask Eric. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know if did everybody else get it in the room?
I did not get it.
Emily did not get it. Are you
Jennifer.
Registered at the school, Emily?
That was Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer.
Kinsey, did you get it?
Yeah, I did. We got one.
Okay.
I got one. I had to go hunt it down though. I don't know how it got pushed into my promotions mailbox for some reason. It didn't come to my.
That's what happens with school email, because the only way we can send it out is as a bulk message, and it's not a lot of people have bulk messages blocked. So that's one thing we might say to people, that if you can unblock the school, then that might be helpful in receiving communication from the school.
Nancy, can you get that to me? Can you send that to me?
Yes. You didn't get it, Jennifer?
No, I did not. I'm checking and I still don't have it.
And if you search for Eric's name.
Oh yeah.
Do you
Okay.
want to, can you discuss what some of the things that were talked about in there for those of us that are still trying to search our email?
Sure. I could show it to you, or I could just tell you what was in it.
Yeah, just the Cliff's notes.
The Cliff Notes. Yeah, because it was long. Basically, it went over procedures that will be in place, that we will wash or sanitize our hands entering and exiting the building. When we talked about the district's big five, we thought about what specific things would we have to have in place for our school that were not specifically outlined in those big five in returning to school. So that we would sanitize coming in and when we left the classroom, so that wherever we were going, like even going out to recess, I think it's important that kids' hands are clean. Some other things that we talked about were the AB day schedule and how it does allow us to meet Board of Health regulations of distancing kids. And it talks a little bit about how in the hallways at school, we will have directional arrows so that, you know, as we pass each other in the hall, we're not giving each other high fives and we move to one side or the other, and that there'll be some arrows and signs to help people with that. We talked about the fact that with this AB day schedule, we didn't feel that there was a need to stagger the start and stop times of school, because there would be half as many students there and that there would be room to distance as we lined up on the playground. So we'll just have the same start and stop schedules. We did talk about lining up at the doors and the huge crowd of children that are there when we line up in the morning and at recess time. And so we are going to spread that out a little bit. There's still a little bit of it. We talked about having first grade line up by the doors where kids come out for lunch outside of their first grade windows, and having fourth grade line up around the corner from just to space them out a little bit. And then we will be letting the classes come in with the farthest room away first, so that they come in one at a time. And it may take a little bit longer entering and exiting the building to take those turns. We felt like it worked just fine. And then we did talk about we talked about recess time and how important it is for the kids. We do need to maybe shorten recess time so the kids can line up at the door and go in before the next groups come out. And so they were still working on those recess schedules and working them out with prep time schedules. We will have prep times. Our plan right now is to most of the time have the prep time teachers come into the classroom, that occasionally we could go there, and PE will probably be in the gym or outside as we can. And, you know, efforts maintained to sanitize equipment. And there's a lot that you can do without equipment for PE. So that's part of the plan, to minimize one group coming in and using the same materials for the time being. And when we feel it's, you know, safe, then we'll resume the other, because it's quite taxing on somebody who is a prep time teacher to move from class to class. So then we discussed also how we could have the kids all experience the prep times over the course of 2 weeks that they were there. So that prep time schedule had to be altered. We decided for back to school night, not to have a back to school night, but that the teachers would prepare a pre-recorded item about their classroom and some procedures, things that they would go over normally. And then on the Monday before school starts, we would have half-hour blocks of time where if you had any questions, you could get on to a Zoom meeting with your teacher and ask those particular, we talked about having 3 sessions and you just go to the session that you need to, but we also discussed the fact that it would probably be better if you could just have a time when you could go and meet your teacher. So those times are spread out through the morning in half-hour increments. Is there something else you have a question about in terms of that letter?
So 2 questions, Nancy. I finally found it. So maybe we can help with. So the prep time. So generally that would be, you have 1 prep course throughout the week, right? So you would have PE once a week, library once a week. So now the new schedule will be like every other week.
So yeah, there's almost really no way to have everybody have it every week. And so they will, whatever prep time comes on, the Tuesday and Wednesday. So your, A-day class would have a Wednesday preparation time 1 week. And then your B-day would have these 2 classes. And then the next week we would teach a prep time on Monday. So that prep time teacher, usually they have a day that's off. And in the past that's been Monday. So then we would change that to Monday the next week. And then they would have Tuesday off. And so the next week, A day would have 2 prep times and B day would have 1. So that through the course of the week, you would have all 4 prep times, meaning library, and you would have the STEAM class and PE and computer lab. So those would be your 4 prep times, and they'd have it over the course of 2 weeks. But it also maintains, it's part of the teacher contract that we have prep times available to us. So it also, we're able, if we had them have all those prep times in a week, you would have to shorten their prep time, basically. So they would only get to go for, say, 25 minutes instead of the 50. So this way we're able to maintain the blocks of time, but, and I think the prep time is much more effective when it can be a chunk of time rather than just short and in and out. And that also that schedule also left chunks of time between the classes. Excuse me. And prep time teachers aren't paid for their in-between time. Even if they have like a lunch half hour, they aren't paid for that. So it's a tricky thing to work out their schedule so that there aren't a lot of gaps and spaces in it. But we feel like this way kids will be able to have, that good amount of time for prep time. That's how it will work.
I'll
Hey,
go into
Michael,
some, yeah.
What did you search under to find that? Because I'm not finding the email.
Yeah, I searched in all my emails under Centerville, Centerville ES General, I think is who comes through. And it was last Tuesday, it looks like. So it wasn't even, I thought it'd be later in the week. So I don't know how I missed it.
You send me an email, I will forward it to you.
I have your email, Tiffany. I can send it to you if you can't find it.
I can't find it.
But yeah, so I'm looking at it. It has a lot of good info. It's about what Eric had talked to us about last Tuesday. So he must have sent it right after our meeting last Tuesday. So another question, Nancy, maybe you can help answer. is so sick days. Obviously, if you miss too many days of school, you start getting letters from the district and everything. I'm guessing that they're gonna be a little more lenient with that. Now that they really encourage you to not come if you're not feeling well.
They really do at all. I know that sometimes if you have some sniffles or something. So I would say we could be more lenient. The thing about those letters that most people don't realize is that they are generated by the computer. And so then we send them out. I've always wanted to work on that wording there because it sounds like, I don't know, that I'm angry at you for, being gone. But it's just not true. And so when you have a certain number of absences, it generates it mostly so that you're aware of how, the accumulated number of absences. So I don't know that there's probably have them turn it off
Bryn,
for a while, but
Bryn.
like I said, it just generates it based on the policy that's set. So
Yeah, I didn't know if there had been
we will all be a lot more flexible about all of it.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was discussion if the letters would still come out, if there was talk of, let's say you are homesick or your kid has a sniffle, do you want to keep them home? Do they log on to Canvas that day and still get credit for it? Or maybe half day, or how that's going to work? I didn't know if you guys discussed that or heard anything from the district yet.
It does discuss that in the district plan, and what it says basically, if it was a day that you would attend school, that when you return, that you would be given what you need to make up the day, because the things that a teacher does in class are not necessarily what they will post on Canvas. So just like a regular absence, you'd probably receive the materials when you return. That's what the district policy says. But certainly as teachers, we would be happy to help. You could also go work on some of the things that are on there that might be ongoing. For instance, an iReady lessons that you could do at home, things like that. The policy itself says that when you return, part of that is that it's pretty hard to require kids who are sick to go on and do the work. So that's what it says, but we'd certainly work with you.
Yeah, I just know probably have an abundance of caution that more parents will keep their kids home, or if they're home anyway, just for nothing else other than to keep the suspect nature of it. Send your kid with sniffles and then get the questions all day, I guess. Yeah, I just didn't know how they worked it out. And so I know there was talk too about maybe some of the teachers would broadcast some things during their day for the kids that are home. Has that been discussed? I know that you and Emily and Marsha are in here. So maybe from a teacher, do you guys have any plans for that?
Well, it depends on the teacher if they would do that. Right now, I will tell you that we do not have the capability within our building and with the computers that we have to broadcast it, unless we as teachers have something of our own. So we don't have webcams. We don't have, something mounted up on our projectors that will allow us to do that. We could use our devices to do that. And I do have plans to broadcast my reading lesson every day, because it builds on itself. We learn a little bit more and we learn a little bit more. And it's really hard to divide that into an A-B day. And so it's a lot easier for me to divide up math. So I think that's what I'm planning on. And it's just in the works, because right now I really can't do it from my classroom unless I just set up my, my laptop or my iPad and Zoom from that. And so we're going to have to see if we can round up that capability. But so for right now, if a teacher wants to make it happen, I think we probably can. But right now, there's not a real way to do it from their home computer, from their school computer. So we'll have to work on some things like that.
So Emily, Baker, or Marcia, have you guys thought about options like that?
I haven't.
That's Marcia.
But I have the best team ever. So, I mean, we're really working closely together and trying to collaborate. So we're open to all possibilities. And I mean, if Nancy can help us figure that out, or I don't know, Emily.
Allie.
I've definitely Googled some things. Like in the spring, we can't require humans to log on we're doing our lesson at 10 o'clock. So Zoom's kind of out of the picture, but trying to find a format that we can record and upload to our Canvas is what I've been looking into. It's just all the details that go into it and where I'm going to find the hard drive space that can save that much information and how much we can save onto Canvas. That's kind of where I'm at right now. But like Nancy said, a lot of our lessons build on each other. And at least from my understanding, our goal is what they learn in class, they kind of go home and practice. So anything we could record would definitely be helpful for them to be able to touch back into. So I guess that's a really long way to say we're looking into it, right?
But I think that's all we're looking to hear. I mean, nobody knows. It's all up in the air right now. So the more we hear about what you all are doing, the more we can kind of buy in and support.
I think if I can jump in here for a second.
Of course.
I think when I was there I don't think I was there last week, and I was talking to Nathan, who is our Canvas coordinator, and he basically told me that what we're doing in class is what we'll do in class, and then we will actually have additional lessons on Canvas for the students who are not in class that day. So in other words, we're not going to have, it's not going to be like a follow-up where they're just doing, busy work or whatever on their days not in school. They're actually going to be learning new material. How that's going to be presented is still a little bit of a mystery to me. I'm working really hard on my Canvas and trying to put in videos and things so that they can learn something new without me. I am not sure how I feel about that, just putting it out there, because I like to teach my students from my perspective and from how I do it. But, and I may be just recording things, I don't know, but it is going to be double the work for the teacher. Just saying it is because it is. We're going to be teaching in our classroom, but we also have to have lessons prepared online for students who are not in the classroom that day. That's my understanding.
And the district has put together math for every day, for every lesson to be, posted into Canvas. They've also done the same. The English Language Arts department has put lessons every day. Every subject area has materials that we can access according to what we're teaching that week, that we can utilize in our Canvas courses. We still have to put our course together, but so, each week it will be posted.
So a big question I have on that then, with all you teachers putting stuff on Canvas and sending stuff home, is it going to be somewhat dumbed down for parents? Since the way we learned is probably different than the way you're teaching, and that conflict between how to do math and and some other skills that we have with our children?
Absolutely not. You have to learn right along with us.
I think that obviously it's a little different for kindergarten, but that we all feel pretty confident in our kindergarten math skills. But we do have a curriculum that we are required to cover. And if we only taught new things on, twice a week, there would be no way to get through it and through that curriculum. So it will be marching forward, and it will be the same kind of curriculum we would cover if you were, in class every day. But the good thing is, if you have trouble with a math assignment and you can't get it done, there will probably be videos on your Canvas that you can review for, to explain some of that. But then there will also be the next day with your teacher, so that you wouldn't be getting so behind, or that it won't be all at home. So you could also clarify and ask the teacher for the next day. We would understand if you didn't have that assignment done right then because you didn't understand. And that's another thing that you can do, is also communicate through Canvas. There is like a messenger feature to it, or email right in Canvas, that you can, pop off a message to your teacher that we will answer as we can. So
is the expectation that parents will use their kids' accounts to communicate, different than like with Class Dojo, where the parents have an account to discuss about their kids? There's not a parent, I guess there's not a parent account for Canvas to be able to reach out.
There is actually an account for Canvas.
Well, and what it does is it notifies you as a parent when your child has information posted into their Canvas. So in order to have each child get the things that they need through Canvas, it's set up through their student account. And so they do receive it into their student account, but right at the beginning, parents need to choose the option to be to have that delivered to them as well. And so you do access it through your student account. For instance, you can actually log into Canvas through Office 365 and Clever. So the kids who have, a scan badge can scan that in and access Canvas through their account that way. And that's how you will enter Canvas, is through your student account. And the way so Clever allows them to go in with their username and password that they would use at school.
I think that when he was asking about the parent account, I had a parent that came into my class. I didn't know it until towards the end of the school year, but he actually was just there as a visual, and he could only see his child's, his students, or his child's stuff that was going on. But he was able to get in there and just be an observer, but not an observer of everyone. It was just the observer of his child's stuff.
So Canvas has a link on Davis District School website, and you create a parent login. So it'll walk you through all the instructions, how you link your MyDSD account to your children's Canvas account. And then you can be linked up to each of your students' Canvas classes. If it will show you every class they're enrolled in, every calendar, every assignment, it will log you in just like you are them. The only difference is you can't submit their assignments. You can just see visually everything they see. So technically, yes, you get a parent's account. That way you can, if you say, did you do your work? And your kids say yes, and you logged into their Canvas and it shows you they still have 17 assignments to submit, that is a way that you can see it from their end. Also, I know that I've spent some time in the 4th grade version, all the versions are different obviously, of what the district has been creating curriculum wise. And each like beginning to the unit has parent instructions to, you're going to be required to submit a video. This is how we would do it. Download this in this area of your computer, upload it here. So it tries to be as user-friendly as humanly possible. There's videos on how they think you should submit your work. There's videos on how to link your Canvas account to your children. They're doing everything they have thought of so far. Obviously, they only know from their perspective, so there will be things they have to add throughout the process. But they have done amazing things to try and prepare for this school year. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody have any questions about Canvas for these teachers on here? I tell you, I'm new to Canvas. I know some colleges and stuff use it, but I haven't done anything with it.
I'm excited to get to know it because, excuse me, because I've heard that that is, I mean, you parents with older kids, isn't that how everything works, like in middle school and high school? Don't they do a lot on Canvas?
I
Yeah.
know Farmington High School, I think, was doing a lot.
Farmington High School has a different program called Summit Academy, but every other high school in the district uses Canvas.
Yeah, it's all on
Every junior
Canvas.
high school uses Canvas. So
And the
Well,
colleges
gonna-
use it. The colleges use it too. All of UVU, I mean, they all.
Yeah, and if it's not Canvas, like Emily said, it's something similar to it, you know. So I just think that's the way that education is, you know, I mean, there's no replacement for a teacher, obviously, but there's got to be, we got to teach our kids early, I think, earlier than we had to know how to use all these programs.
I teach up at Weber State, and it's I post things online for them to do all of their assignments that they are working on at home, but it's also how they submit all of their assignments
Yeah.
to me. So rarely do I, you know, get papers. And the nice thing about it for a teacher is you can also, they have like a speed grader in there. So when you're grading the assignment, it just pulls up as a visual image and you can grade it right there. You pull up the next one. It's really efficient.
Wow.
I don't know.
No stack of papers on the weekend anymore.
But too much sitting at the computer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not a sitter at the computer. I want to dance around while I'm correcting. That's just me.
And that's why we love you, Mrs. Cosper.
I know.
I was also going to say that one resource that has saved my relationship with my 4th grader going into 5th grade was Khan Academy, as well as another YouTube resource called, I think it's called Math Antics. And I just found those explained 4th grade math and kind of like the new core, Common Core type of curriculum so much better than I could. And saved my relationship with Avery for sure.
So did you guys watch that together, or was it like you watch at night and try to act smart during the day?
Yeah, no. We would watch it together, like before as she was, you know, being assigned different worksheets and stuff. If it was hard for her to understand a concept or something, then we would watch one of those videos, and then kind of, it just, the way that they explain things step by step, it just helped us to then, you know, helped her to feel more confident about finishing a worksheet and stuff like that.
The district has put as an external tool that you can link something in Khan Academy into Canvas as well. So if they feel like there's something there that It's one of the things that they have added as an external tool in Canvas. And I have to say, see you later, because I'm on my way to renew my driver's license.
Well, good luck. Thanks, Nancy. So actually, since Mrs. Cosper's in here, if you wouldn't mind indulging me, if you would like to discuss how your class is going to work this year. I know that some people in situations like mine, that we will be in your class, but it won't be Spectrum this year. It's going to be a Spectrum-like class.
Well, what we're hoping to do is, or our plan is, to continue with the Greek and Latin stems and, include those. We'd like to include our expanded literature, the Spectrum literature for kids that are ready for that. It's a little more in-depth, and we don't know we didn't use what is it, Emily? What do you guys use for your language arts?
Wonders.
Wonders, yeah. I mean, I know the Wonders from first grade, and I know I subbed in 5th and 6th with Wonders too, but we're going to do more novel study, and hopefully we're not sure whether all the kids will be ready for that, but with smaller groups, I think we can handle that. So we'll be kind of grouping the kids according to ability more. And then with the math, we're gonna work on is it the iReady? Emily, is that what it is? The math?
Math is called Ready Math.
Ready Math. And then we've been through the M cubed, and we took a training before we knew we weren't going to have Spectrum, and they had a lot of cool video stuff on that, on the M cubed on the computer. And I don't know if Sherry will give us the licenses for that, but we need to check with her and see if we can have access to that, because that would be a big plus, like some enrichment stuff for the Spectrum kids too. And the M cubed is the Spectrum approved math program. So we had some really, really smart math students last year, and we brought in the M cubed. We used that as well as some other things. So that's what we're thinking. We've worked really, Shauna and Emily and I have been trying to get things coordinated for, we want to have a playlist. We want to have the kids working at their own pace more this year. So that's our plan. Does that help? I mean, the Greek and Latin stems and the literature, I think it's real doable.
Yeah, I think so. That just for parents that don't know and anybody's listening, that the Spectrum program was cut from 4th grade this year because of low attendance. So it sounds like the last time I talked to the district, it sounds like most of the kids will be staying at Centerville as opposed to moving to West Point or West Bountiful, as was an option. So just for those parents that are just curious, trying to ask you just how will it be different? Will it look different? Or how would it be the same?
Well, we still do we have our numbers yet, Emily? I haven't checked this morning.
Last I checked, we're at about 26-ish each.
Okay. So that would mean 13 a day. So
if it does nicely like that.
Yeah. So we're really hoping that we can individualize more, and those students that we have that are really, excelled, I'm just so grateful that we taught Spectrum for almost, well, not a full year without the craziness. But so I feel real confident that we can individualize and keep those kids moving in the right area. We're definitely going to use the Greek and Latin stems. And I feel like that piece of the spectrum, I feel like most kids could handle that. I don't know, maybe I'm way off base, but I feel like students rise to what your expectations are. And I mean, we may have some students that just can't do that, but then we have Emily that's doing the Wonders program, and we can tap into that as well. I mean, we've been going every week through the whole summer trying to figure out what we're doing, right, Em?
Yeah, as hard as it is for us to vocalize, we have a pretty solid plan in place of how we're going to make it work for the different variety of levels that need to be differentiated for. Just like they can tap into things that I had to use last year and I'm improving for this year. They also have all the things they used last year, as well as all the things from the district, and so we have a pretty solid idea of how we're going to be able to make it work to differentiate all the chaos. But to vocalize that probably doesn't sound as solid as we feel like we're planned for. We put in a lot of time and effort to make sure that this looks as seamless as possible. It's obviously not the ideal scenario for anyone, but I think if anyone can do it, it is Shauna and Marcia. They're incredible. They have.
I don't know about that.
Will blow your mind. Like, don't let her not sing.
I think my strength is I always give 125%, which my husband doesn't love, but if you have questions, you can call me. Shauna is working her other job, but I'm really pretty available. I mean, I'm so dogged and determined. I'll work till I figure it out. I may be crying, but I will still do it. When the going gets tough, the tough get going, or go shopping, whichever. I don't know. I'm excited. I want to come back. I don't want to teach just remotely. I don't think that's the best for kids. That's just.
I think most of us all here probably agree. But on what you're saying, so it sounds like from what I understand that they're not going to do mixing of classes this year, right? Where you take different levels of science or math and move them to different teachers.
Well, we're hoping we can do some of that trading for science, just because it's all new science and we've divided it up, and we're hoping that the teachers can maybe move in on that, but we don't know yet. Do we, Emily? What?
Last we heard, as long as our kids aren't moving classrooms and we are adequately sanitizing and doing the things, we as teachers can switch classrooms so they can learn science from each of us. But to mix students, at least at this point in the year, is not going to happen.
And from what we've been looking at, I mean, I don't think there's, any way that we'll have time to actually do any real teaching in social studies. Isn't that what we thought, Emily? That might have to be.
Yeah, we are looking at putting most of our social studies curriculum just online.
Online.
At least for the beginning part of the year, that way, because like Nancy was saying earlier, we have a lot to teach, and 2 days they're in class, and there's just some concepts that are easier face to face. And so looking at the curriculum that we have, it seems like social studies translates better to online than math or science would.
Plus,
That would be all the history classes, right?
Right.
yeah, so it's Utah studies, and it's really fun to teach. But I don't know, Emily, maybe we could do some of our prehistory
Yeah,
day. We could do that maybe online, do you know, like on a Friday and do.
we have ideas.
Yeah, we have
History
lots
is
of ideas.
my favorite subject of all time, so it's
Yeah,
hard.
and I like the social studies too, and it's easy to integrate it into the writing and the reading. I mean, and that's the thing. Being a lower grade teacher, we always had, I mean, I did teach 4th grade too, but it was way easier for me. Some of the other teachers would compartmentalize everything so much. And I'd be like, well, why can't the science be your reading lesson for today? Because the science is technical and it's informational reading, and you can use that in place of a wonder story just because there's wonders, a story about something. To me, that made so much sense to integrate the social studies and the science into the language arts and the math. I guess I was just.
She's not wrong. She's very, very right.
I
But
was raised with that.
it gets a little more complicated when math and language arts and science are tested at 5th grade level. And so we have to.
I know, but you can still.
Oh, sure. We're definitely still integrating. I don't mean it like that. But
you can still do so much of that. I think because I did my master's project on integrating so much stuff, and it was a 1st grade project, but it just makes sense to my brain. And especially the kids that want to take like a science concept and run with it, they're having to read, they're having to write, they're having all of those things, all of those skills are, then I don't think we need to add on a big whole piece of a separate piece of a reading thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but
what she's trying to say is integration is the only way we're going to make all of this work. So be
right.
Some crossover.
And I just don't want to overwhelm the kids where they feel like I worked with my 4th grade granddaughter last year. I helped my youngest son has 7 kids. So I would bring her here, and she was enthralled with the science, and we'd get on and we'd do a whole section and read all this information, and then she'd write a piece with it, and then she'd look on her Google Docs and she'd have 20 more things to do in language arts with reading a section. And the skill part, yeah, the prepositions and learning that, then I'd say, let's just do this, Maya, and we could go through those and we'd talk about it. But the actual reading a whole nother section of just a story, just because it was the story for the week. I mean, if it was, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. I appreciate that. And I think more than stressing out the kids, I think that stressed out the parents.
It does stress out the parents. We would look on her Google Docs every day, and there would be more and more and more stuff. And I would email the teacher and just say, you know what? We're going to do this and this. This is what her passion is. And this is reading and this is writing. And the rest of it is, we're not doing it. And the teacher didn't adjust that. And I don't know if I know she was overwhelmed too, but she didn't just say, okay, and take that off. Because Maya could see missing. And I think for a child, or even for me, I was like, well, I don't want that missing. But then my common sense kicked in, and I was like, you're reading, you're writing, and it's what you're passionate about. So I'm a big proponent of that. I don't know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know Britt's on here too, and I think her and I are both in the same boat as far as staying and curious about what that spectrum is going to look like this year. So the rest of the parents on here, was there anything else that you guys were curious about while we have a couple teachers? Any questions and discussion?
Emily, are you going straight online?
Yeah. Yeah, we are. We're gonna do online for at least the first term.
Okay.
And then hopefully be right back, but just have some anxious feelings about everything still going on. So
Does the change in schedule change anything about your decisions? Did it make it harder or easier?
honestly, it made me even, well, I mean, yeah, I am so grateful and happy that the district recognized that was necessary, because I do believe that it is, and just with the class sizes that Davis district has. But it didn't change my mind, because the more I thought about like how it's all going to roll out, and I don't know, I guess I just felt like I just want something consistent, and both of my kids have expressed and said that we don't want to go back to school if it's weird. And so when I ask, well, what does weird mean? If everyone's wearing masks, and I explained to Avery, like, this is going to be how the last names are divided up. And I think, I don't know, Marcia, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but she felt like all my friends are in the other group.
And that's going to be flexible, isn't it? That I think they're going to have, like, I think you get to choose more.
You can make requests.
You can make requests
around, and teachers might make requests as well. Like the way my class looks right now, I have 9 people that will come on A days and B days, and 17 that would come on the other day.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
I think that's really flexible, because we had dinner with my son and her, my grandkids are junior high and high school, and they're totally letting them choose what work, to a point of what works. And I told Brittany, are you on here? Britt Benyon, is she on?
Yeah, I'm here.
I told her, I mean, even before I knew, I mean, I've taught for so long, and they've got to work with parents around schedules and all kinds of stuff. And Mr. Holmes said yes, that they will try to meet requests for which days work best. But I would request sooner than later. The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
True.
So I just think.
Yeah, and I did talk to Sharon Camacho. We're gonna actually go just have a little meeting with her and kind of figure out how do we keep Avery, engaged in what's going on in the class, or like at least not fall behind as far as what they're doing, spectrum specific. But but the online school, they also say that it can be personalized, and if a child is showing advancement in one area, then
they run with it.
Yeah, they can go ahead and they can move on beyond their grade level if necessary. So it'll be interesting, but we'll get through it.
If those numbers are the teachers looking at those and trying to contact parents to help balance them out, or are you just hoping that something will balance on its own?
First, Eric and Karma are looking at it and doing their best to balance the grade level the best they can. Once they have exhausted those options, then we'll look at if they have siblings and how to, like, if there's only one student at the school, then we'd probably contact those parents first, that kind of thing. That way, because if we moved someone in 4th grade, it would have to affect every child in that family in theory. So we're gonna it's happening, wheels are in motion, but we're going to try and do everything we can before we have to reach out to you. So that being said, if that's something you want for your family, then I would reach out quickly, especially if you have the luxury to be home with your kids and maybe you know your kids' personalities and you know, like, look, this kid and this kid, they don't jive so well. And it would be awesome if I had this day with this child and this day with my other two kids. It would be awesome. Then reach out to your school and let that be known. I know that the high school and the junior high have already sent out those request letters to me, but the elementary school hasn't, because usually it tinkers from the top down.
Yeah.
Make sure
Yeah.
you let your requests be known sooner than later.
Yeah, get in there sooner.
What we need to do, we will reach out to parents and do when we get there, but they haven't exhausted all their options yet from a clerical standpoint.
Yeah, I think are they still working on classes?
Yeah, because I think they had until, they extended the deadline for Davis Connect until the 7th of August. So then all that has to trickle through, and then they have to go through manually and change things in the system. It's not done automatically. So then they'll have to do that, and then so it's a lot of work for Karma probably first, and then so it'll take a minute. That's why we probably won't have class lists until August 14th. But
that's what I was going to say. I know a lot of parents are still waiting. Who's their teacher?
I know they're
this
doing
is why
their
is part
very
of
best, and I know my kids' school has changed their date 2, 3, 4 times already. So my advice to you, if you're anything like me, check your MyDSD often, because that's the first place that's going to know, because it'll tell you before your school can tell you. But as soon as it's set, your school will. I mean, our school has said it'll be out by the 14th for sure. But if it's finalized before then, it'll show up in your MyDSD.
Yeah. Eric kind of sounded like it might be finalized a little before that, didn't he, Emily, when we talked to him?
It did sound that way, but there's a lot to be done. So I can't make any promises. But that's his hope and his guess. But like I said, my kid's school has told me, I think it's 3 different dates in the last 2 weeks. So it's hard for these poor administrators and secretaries. And I watched my kids' school PTA Facebook page and how frustrated parents are. And my heart it just goes out to everyone in this scenario. It's a hard one for everyone, for the secretaries, for the teachers, for the administrators, for the district, for the parents. I don't think anyone is not losing their mind at this point. They're just trying to do everything they can to make this as seamless as possible. And everyone has a different version of this in their head of what it should look like. And so the best advice in any scenario is, if you have a question, reach out to anyone, whether it be the school, whether it be your teacher from last year, or whether it be someone you know, if you're lucky enough to live by someone who works for the school. I mean, at least the people we work with at our school, I don't know a single person who wouldn't respond to you immediately. We all know that we're in a rough situation, and we will bend over backwards to try and make you as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm excited. I don't know, but I'm clueless maybe. I don't know.
I think the hardest thing for parents and probably teachers is there's so much noise right now. And it's hard to know what's going on exactly and make sense, to kind of read between the lines of everything to know what's happening.
Yeah, it's hard when it's the unknown. And you just, I don't know, you just jump in and go with it and adjust as you go. To me, that seems like the best thing.
I honestly can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you the 3 teachers that are on here, we are thrilled beyond words to get back to your kids. Like, that's what we're counting down to. There's a lot of scary, there's a lot of ugly, there's a lot of loud noise that makes you feel all the feelings, but we miss your humans. We really, 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 like, that's why we do this. We all have different whys to why we became teachers, but having your kids find joy in learning and finding passion in what they're going to achieve in life, like that's what we want. And we can't wait to be with them again. So I think if you can find peace in anything, know that even though it's weird, and even though they'll wear masks, and even though it's definitely going to look different than it ever has before, like we are so excited to be with your kids. And I feel like that's going to be something they can feel right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I think that will be huge. At least I know in my humans at my house, like they can't wait to just be around other people to feel that kind of energy. So I think that's something you can count on. No matter what the weird is, you can count on them just being loved and just be so excited to be around other people, because we're just so excited to have them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I said, my daughter said she didn't want it to be weird, those are her words, not mine.
Well, those are my kids' words. I didn't mean yours. My kids think it's so weird every time they put a mask on in the grocery store. Every time they try to see someone smile and they can't decide if they're making like a weird face at them or like twitching. Like it's weird. That's their verbiage, not yours, because it's weird, guys. It's so weird. My kids are at dance for 7 hours a day dancing with a mask on. Like it's a weird world. So I think that there's just not a better word for it. I think that we're trying to find a way to make the energy now be what you can feel, because you've lost facial expression.
Right.
Yeah, I liked in that document they said we're going to be learning and teaching sign language this year at the school.
Yeah.
Like we can't give hugs, we can't do high fives, but we can do, other symbols.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's so confusing for kids to know what's appropriate when, where, as all this goes on.
But I think the kids, I think this is my perspective, but I think the students will come in with new kind of awe and wonder for being able to gather as a community. And I think they might be a little kinder, gentler, and a little more, I think they'll be open to, okay, this is, procedures and stuff. It'll mean more to them. Because before we were always telling them, now you have to walk down the hall this way, but this way it has a meaning, Before it's kind of just been whatever. I don't know. Do you think I'm wrong on that? I think they're going to really.
I think it might take a little while, because I understand that they haven't seen each other in 6 months, most of them.
Right.
So you're gonna have that first week or two when they're all excited.
But I think that they'll appreciate. I just know. I remember before we went off. Some of the kids before the COVID all started, and I remember cute little Jen's, all the kids were like, oh, yay, we don't have to come to school anymore. And he was like, we don't want COVID to come, because we want to come to school. It'll be hard to not come to school. And he kind of got that, but the other kids were like, oh, no school, yay, And now they've had to do the remote and be separated from their friends. I think there'll be an appreciation, and I don't know, but maybe I give them too much credit, but I don't think so. I think kids are the greatest asset we have. So it certainly changed their lives forever. And in the long run, hopefully it will be for the best. I don't know.
I've got a question. I'm wondering, as teachers, have you guys seen that since this switch has happened, are there a lot more parents that are committing to coming to the schools? Like percentage wise, are we going to have a lot of our kids coming back, or is it like a 50-50 split? How are the numbers looking?
I can't really answer that. I haven't seen those. Have you, Emily?
Those aren't things we get to see. Unless we happen to be in the office when they talk about things like that, it's not something we we get access to. So unless we've just happened in on a conversation, it's not something we
I think the
know.
last time Jennifer and I talked to Eric, it was 20 or 30 kids they were estimating. But that may have went up or down. That was a week or two before the deadline. With the alternating schedule, I don't know if that changed.
And I think that that's even gotten lower since the hybrid schedule came out. So, but yeah, we don't have access to that information. In fact, we, like Emily and Marcia said, that our class lists continue to change. I look at mine almost every day, and sometimes I get more kids, sometimes I get less kids. So yeah, it's not something that we have access to.
It sounds like it's not very many, Britt. I mean, like I said, in the entire school, 20 or 30 kids.
Oh, that surprises me, but also kind of encouraging. So when you say that you each have 26 kids in your class split, is that kind of like looking at it like if everybody were to come to school, this is what our classes are looking like, or that's kind of how it's looking now? Does that make sense?
That's what it looks like now. Last week I had 33 kids in my class. This week I have 27. So
wow.
it changes pretty often.
And right now,
Well,
as a
and he hadn't moved all the kids over to our class either, because we only had like 13 still. So he, they're working on, because of some of our spectrum kids did leave, went back to their home school, or went to, I think, do you know that, Mike?
Last I talked to the district, and this was right before the deadline, they had said that only the kids who worked from Centerville that they knew probably wouldn't stay in Centerville.
Probably wouldn't stay.
It sounded like when I talked to them that I was the only one that was on the fence about moving, and that the parents from Centerville they spoke to were probably staying.
Right.
So I don't know if that's changed. That's something that may have changed last minute. But when the alternating schedule came out, that's what changed our mind. That's what kept us at Centerville.
Well, we're glad you stayed.
Well, I'm here for you either way, Marcia.
Okay. Well, good. Because I will need that.
Well, if you have my son in your class, trust me, you need it.
Fourth grade is a weird beast though, because we had the change from spectrum and the split. And so our numbers probably look a little more chaotic than other grades do. Our changes are probably a lot more intense than maybe second grades or sixth grades. There hasn't been much change going on there, except for what's coming down from Davis Connect. Fourth grade is just, we're our own beast right now.
Well, we've kind of been that way this is the second year now, right?
I just know that for fifth grade, as a fifth grade teacher, my numbers are pretty low. And so I'm still looking at teaching fifth, but there's always that opportunity to do another split if they think my numbers are way too low. So I'm sitting at 20 kids right now, and that's
a gift from heaven.
I know, right? It's a dream come true.
It's the dream come true. Just don't say anything. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell the area directors. Just pretend like you don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything, but that it'll be a really good class, and I'm split right down the middle. They have divided my class so that that I have 10 kids and 10 kids, 10 kids on Monday, 10 kids on a Tuesday. So I think it's just going to benefit the kids that are in my class. And yes, Tiffany, Chad is still with me. So
I think that you deserve that. And I think those kids deserve that.
Well, I appreciate that, but
after last year,
kids, I don't mind at all, but 20 kids, really, truly. I mean, I've never in my whole career have had only 20 kids. I've always had 30 plus kids in my class.
Well, then the year you get 20 kids, they split in half, so you have 10, right? So these
Exactly.
Yeah, that's that's like manna from heaven falling on top of you. It really is. Yeah. That just never happens in Utah. So I
Right.
just don't think they can take that away. I think they've got to, but that's just me, and I'm not the
Well,
administration.
We're all still looking at, the district is still looking at making some changes with our teachers too. So, I can't guarantee that it's going to stay that way. I hope it does, but there's no guarantee. And that's just, typical right now. There's no guarantee of anything right now.
Nancy spoke to that a little bit to Emily and I, and she said she didn't feel like that they would change that unless something really more drastic, I don't know. I don't know where she got her information, but I don't know. I'm putting it in my meditation and prayers, and that it stays that way for you, Jennifer. It needs to be that. Those kids deserve that. Last year was a hard year for our fourth graders, I think. Don't you?
I think it was.
They're the best humans. I mean, that maybe that's not fair. I don't know anyone else, but they are some of the coolest kids. You're so lucky. They're an amazing group of kids.
Well, I'm super happy to have, for the most part, most of my fourth graders coming back to fifth grade, which will be pretty awesome. So, I'll have, the rules and the expectations and.
Right. So it's like you're looping almost.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about that. And of course I have some new ones coming into my class also. So it'll be fun, and I'm excited to have my kids back. I don't feel like we closed out our year, and
we didn't.
I'm glad I get to have that opportunity to do that with them.
I think it's amazing.
All right. So the couple parents that are left, is there anything else that you want to discuss before we break this off? We've been a little over an hour now. Maybe not. All right. So I appreciate everybody that's still left on here. If there's anybody, whether it's on here or listening to this at home, if you haven't gotten the letter from from Mr. Holmes, it came from Centerville ES General was the email name. It came on Tuesday, so if you haven't found it in your email, you can let me know. I'll post on Facebook for anybody who hasn't seen it to make sure it gets out, just to have an idea of what the school's doing, and that way we can build some more questions. For next Monday, will be our last Monday, then we'll switch to Fridays when school starts. So the 17th will be here on Monday. Same time, same 9 a.m., same password and all that. And
I think, Michael, do we have meetings on Monday?
We have meetings on the 24th on Monday, but we have school on the Friday as well.
Yeah, we're still going to get on to the forum at 9 o'clock on that Friday. We're just going to be on from school.
And maybe it'll be short that day. That was the last minute change. We had already said we were going to do Fridays, discuss that with Mr. Holmes and everything. And then obviously the district changed the schedule so that everybody has 2 days a week to have that Friday. So that Friday might be kind of a light, quick one, just a welcome back to school thing. And then the Friday after, hopefully we get a lot of parents who really hit it hard with a lot of questions that parents have and concerns maybe from the first 2 weeks of school, so we can discuss it and bring that back to the administration. So, but yeah, so that's the plan, just for Fridays, because that'll be a time when all teachers and parents should be available to speak. So again, I appreciate everybody. Popsicle meet and greet will be the 24th from 2 to 3. So if parents haven't seen that, please attend. We'll make sure all the COVID safety factors are in place for grabbing your popsicles and meet your new teachers. I'm sure you gotta wear masks and 6 feet distance and all that. But we hope to see everybody there. And if there are any questions, you please let me know, email me, or send me a message. I appreciate everyone. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you, teachers. It's so good to hear from you guys.
I know, I miss you guys.
We miss you too. We might just have to come knock on your door and say hi.